Hi, this is Miss Sek. This is a pre-recorded class on solving multi-step equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign. Okay. So when solving multi-step equations, the goal is to isolate the variable using inverse operations to unwrap it. With each step, the equation should become simpler until the variable is alone on one side. So let's review some vocabulary. The variable is a letter that represents an unknown number. The constants have no variable, and the coefficient is a number that multiplies the variable. Now, this is an example of an equation with variables on both sides. When you're solving equations with variables on both sides, you have to bring one of the variables to the other side. So in this case, you're subtracting 2n to bring it to the other side. Now, this is a review of distributive property. Distributive property is when you multiply the number outside the parentheses to each of the numbers inside the parentheses.
In this equation, we are trying to figure out what is the value of x. But notice in this equation, we have two x terms, one on the left-hand side of our equal sign and one on the right-hand side of our equal sign. So the first thing that we have to do is move one of those x terms to the other side of the equal sign and combine it with the other x term. What we are going to do first is, because we have a positive 5x on the right-hand side, we're going to do the opposite of that, which is to take away 5x. That way, they will both cancel out on the right-hand side of the equation. We must do the same thing to the other side of our equation in order to balance our equation. And we're going to subtract 5x from 12x because they are like terms. 12x take away 5x is 7x. And we still have plus 3 on the left-hand side of our equation. And on the right-hand side, we still have 31. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to eliminate the plus 3 on the left-hand side by doing the opposite, which is to take away 3. Opposite integers will cancel each other out to be 0. To balance our equation, we have to subtract 3 from the other side. And 31 take away 3 is 28. And on the left-hand side, we still have 7 times x remaining. Now, to get rid of this 7, we have to do the opposite of multiplying by 7, which is to divide by 7. And we have to do the same thing on the other side of our equation in order to balance our equation. On the left-hand side, we can cancel out both 7's because anything divided by itself is 1. And that leaves us with 1x on the left-hand side of our equation. And on the right-hand side of our equation, we have 28 divided by 7, which is 4. So now we know that x must be equal to 4.
Okay, so let's practice. Go ahead and take 30 seconds and solve this problem on your own, on your paper. Okay, the first thing we have to do when solving this problem, we need to get variables on the same side of the equal sign. So either you could subtract 3x or you could add 2x. So we're adding 2x to both sides. Now we need to get rid of the constant that's by the x. The constant that's by the x is 7. We're not going to subtract 17. No, because 17 doesn't have a variable by it. We're going to subtract the 7 because it's by the x. Last thing we're going to do is divide both sides by 5. And x is equal to 2. Write this problem down and take a few minutes to solve the problem. Okay, first thing we're going to do is subtract 3x from both sides. Now we're going to get rid of the constant that's by the x. So 26 is by the x, so we're going to subtract 26 from both sides. Then the final thing we have to do is divide by the coefficient. The coefficient is 7, so x is equal to 3.
What I'd like to show you is how to solve an equation when you have variables on both sides, and you also have to go ahead and simplify. So, when given this problem, negative 2x times the difference of 4 minus 3x plus 3x equals 27 plus 2x. So, I have a list of steps on how I want to do these problems. I told you guys to write these on a note card so that you could have them next to you each time you're doing the problem. So the first thing to do is going to be simplify. So that's what we're going to be, is what I mean by simplify, I mean use your order of operations. And one of the first things I notice here is I have multiplication, and multiplication with multiplication outside parentheses, so therefore it's going to indicate I'm going to have to use my distributive property. There's no other multiplication, division, or parentheses or exponents that I can use my order operations. So I'm going to have to go ahead and multiply my negative 2 times 4, my negative 2 times negative 3x. When I do that, I get a negative 8 plus 6x plus 3x equals 27 plus 2x. So therefore now I've simplified to all their adding and subtracting. Alright? And so now the next thing I have to go and do is this combine like terms. Remember, combine like terms is you're going to combine all your x's and combine all your numbers on the same side. So I can't combine my negative 8 to anything. There's no other numbers over here. However, I do have my coefficients of my x terms. I can combine those. So I have negative 8 plus 9x equals 27 plus 2x. Because I can't combine everything here. 27 and 2x, they cannot be combined. Do not write 29 or 29x. You cannot combine your x's because you don't know the value of x. Then, over here, now the third step I have is get the variable on the same side. Yeah, which question?
If you can't combine the 27 with the 2 from your x, how can you combine 6x plus 3x?
Because what this is saying I have 6 x's and I have 3 x's. So I can combine them to have 9 x's. But here you just have the number 27, and you don't. So you don't know what x is. So you can't say 27 plus 2 of something you don't know. But you can combine your numbers with the numbers that you do not know. So now the next thing that we need to go and do is go ahead and determine. We need to go and determine put our variable on the same side. So we need to pick what side it's going to go on. And I'll tell you from my experience, the easiest that I've found out is to put your variable on the side where you're not going to get a negative number. So I usually like to subtract my smaller numbers, so therefore I'm not dealing with negative numbers, because that's where a lot of students make mistakes. So I'm going to decide to keep my 9x here, and I'm going to want to get rid of my 2x. Since this is a positive 2x on the right side, to get rid of it, I need to subtract 2x. So I'm going to subtract 2x. That's going to cancel that out to 0, and whatever I do on one side, I have to go ahead and do on the other side. Therefore, now I obtain negative 8 plus 7x equals 27. Do you guys think figure here. Okay, you undo addition and subtraction by using the inverse operations, and then you're going to undo multiplication and division by using the inverse operations. So of course, the first thing I notice is my variable is being subtracted by 8 because that's a negative 8. So my variable is being subtracted by 8. So to undo that, I'm going to add 8. I do that to both sides. Therefore, I'm left with 7x equals 35. Now I need to undo multiplication. So to undo my variable being multiplied by 7, I need to divide by 7. So therefore, x equals 5.
Okay, let's practice. We're going to multiply the number outside the parentheses with all the numbers inside the parentheses. So we're going to multiply 2 to these two terms, and we're going to multiply 6 to these two terms. Okay, 2 times negative 6x is negative 12x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 6 times 5x is 30x, and 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. Now, we have equations with variables on both sides. So you can either subtract 30x or you could add 12x. So I added 12x, and now I have a two-step equation. So the next thing you have to do is get rid of the constant that's by the x. We're not going to get rid of this 6 because this 6 has no x. We're going to get rid of the negative 6 because the negative 6 is by the variable. So we add 6. The last thing we do is divide 42 on both sides, and x should equal to 0. Now take 2 minutes and solve this problem on your own. Now, the students that did the students in the live class are going to use this problem to do their vocabulary assignment, which is next. They're doing their 2 assignments during class. But since you guys are not doing in the live class, you guys are doing the two assignments in the line paper assignments. So do your 2 assignments, email them to me or submit them in Google Classroom, and I'll see you next week.